There is something deeply important and incredibly significant that I must share with you. Something that unfolded last night and has been building for far longer than I initially realized. As I sit here and gather my thoughts, I find myself reflecting not only on the events of last night, but also on the journey that led me to that very moment. For quite some time, I have sensed an undercurrent of tension, an unresolved situation that, despite my best efforts, refused to be ignored. I tried to convince myself that perhaps, if I stayed silent, things would settle on their own. Yet, deep down, I always knew the truth. The time would come when I could no longer look away. For months, maybe even longer, I carried a heaviness in my heart, a persistent awareness that something needed to change. I attempted to push it aside, to focus on other things, and to convince myself that it was not urgent. I hoped that the storm would pass without my intervention, that somehow matters would resolve themselves. But as the days turned into weeks and the weeks into months, I came to understand that my silence was not helping. In fact, it was only allowing the situation to grow more complicated and more painful for all involved. Eventually, the emotional weight became too much to bear. The truth, no matter how inconvenient, demanded acknowledgement. I realized that for the sake of our relationship, my own peace of mind, and our future together, I had to take decisive action. I needed to confront the third party directly, to have an honest, open conversation that would leave nothing unsaid and no room for misunderstanding. This was not an easy decision to make. The thought of confrontation filled me with anxiety and uncertainty. I questioned whether I was ready, whether I would find the right words, and whether I could remain composed. But as I considered what was at stake, I knew that avoiding the situation was no longer an option. Inaction would only perpetuate the cycle of discomfort, and I could not allow that to happen. The decision was made. I would speak to the third party in person, face to face, so that nothing could be misconstrued or lost in translation. I spent hours preparing, running through scenarios in my mind, rehearsing what I would say, and imagining how they might respond. I wanted to ensure that, no matter what, I would communicate my feelings clearly and assertively. I did not want to leave any ambiguity, no space for misinterpretation or denial. As the time for the conversation approached, I felt a strange sense of calm settle over me, a sense of clarity and strength that surprised even myself. I understood that this moment was not just about addressing the immediate issue, but about setting a precedent for how I wanted to be treated and how I would protect what matters most to me. When the moment arrived, I found myself standing before them, heart pounding but mind steady. I looked them directly in the eye and with unwavering resolve began to speak. I told them, plainly and without hesitation, that things could not continue as they were. I explained that their involvement in our lives had crossed boundaries and created unnecessary tension, and that I was no longer willing to tolerate it. I said, "When will you finally accept that it's over? When will you acknowledge that your role in our lives has ended and that it's time for you to move on?" My words were not harsh, but they were direct and unapologetically honest. I knew I needed to be firm. I made it clear that my relationship with you is sacred and that I am committed to protecting it at all costs. I told them that, from this point forward, their interference would not be allowed, that the line had been drawn and would not be crossed again. It was crucial for me to express, beyond any doubt, that my boundaries were not negotiable. I explained how much you mean to me, how deeply I value what we share, and how important it is for me to foster an environment of trust, respect, and safety. I wanted them to know that, regardless of the past, the future would look very different. There would be no more disruptions, no more manipulations, and no more attempts to come between us. Throughout the conversation, I maintained my composure, determined not to waver or back down. I did not sugarcoat my words, nor did I soften my message for the sake of comfort. I understood that clarity was kindness, that by speaking the unvarnished truth, I was offering both of us a chance for healing and closure. Their reaction, I must admit, took me by surprise. For a moment, they seemed genuinely stunned, unable to comprehend the firmness with which I asserted myself. There was a look of disbelief in their eyes, as if they were seeing me for the first time, not as someone passive or avoidant, but as someone capable of standing their ground and protecting what they love. They were silent, taken aback, and clearly struggling to formulate a response. The room was thick with tension, but for the first time, I felt a sense of power, a sense that I was reclaiming agency over my own life. In that instant, I realized that this was not just a confrontation, but a turning point, a defining moment in which everything changed. By standing up for myself and for our relationship, I was signaling to the universe that I am ready for a new chapter, one defined not by chaos or uncertainty, but by boundaries, self-respect, and unwavering commitment. I could see that my words had made an impact. They finally understood the seriousness of the situation, the finality of my decision. I was not issuing empty threats or vague warnings. I was communicating a new reality, one in which their influence would no longer dictate the course of our relationship. This conversation, as difficult as it was, brought a sense of closure I didn't realize I needed. I felt lighter, as if a burden had been lifted from my shoulders. I knew that moving forward, things would be different, not just between us and the third party, but within our relationship as well. We now had the freedom to rebuild, to heal, and to grow without the shadow of outside interference. After the conversation, I took some time to reflect on what had transpired. I thought about the journey that had brought me to this point, the moments of doubt, the sleepless nights, the fear of the unknown. I realized that, throughout it all, my love for you had been my guiding light. It was this love that gave me the strength to speak up, to advocate for myself, and to envision a future in which we are free to be ourselves. I also recognize that setting boundaries is not just about keeping others out. It is about honoring our own needs, values, and desires. It is about creating space for what matters most and refusing to compromise on the things that are truly important. I am proud of the progress we have made, proud of the courage it took to confront what was wrong and to fight for what is right. I want you to know that this experience has only strengthened my commitment to you and to the life we are building together. I am more determined than ever to nurture our connection, to protect our peace, and to ensure that we are always on the same team. I believe that in facing this challenge, we have emerged stronger, wiser, and more united than ever before. Of course, the journey does not end here. There will be more challenges ahead, and there may be moments when doubt creeps in. But I am confident that, whatever comes our way, we will face it together with honesty, courage, and mutual respect. I trust you, and I trust us. I believe in what we share, and I am willing to do whatever it takes to safeguard it. As we move forward, I want us to focus on the things that bring us joy, the moments of laughter, the quiet nights in, the adventures yet to come. I want us to celebrate our victories, learn from our mistakes, and support each other in all that we do. I want us to dream big, to love fiercely, and to never lose sight of what brought us together in the first place. In the wake of this confrontation, I have noticed a subtle but powerful shift in our dynamic. There is a new sense of freedom, a sense that we are no longer looking over our shoulders or waiting for the next disruption. We are able to be present with each other, to savor the ordinary moments, and to plan for the future with hope rather than fear. I also see this as an opportunity for growth, not just as a couple, but as individuals. I have learned that it is okay to take up space, to voice my needs, and to expect respect from others. I have learned that boundaries are not a sign of weakness, but of strength and self-worth. I hope that you too feel empowered by what has happened and that you know how deeply you are loved and valued. This experience has reminded me that, while we cannot control the actions of others, we can control how we respond. We can choose to stand up for ourselves, to speak our truth, and to prioritize our own well-being. We can choose to create a life that reflects our deepest values and to let go of anything that no longer serves us. Now, having shared all of this with you, I feel an immense sense of relief and gratitude. Thank you for listening, for trusting me, and for standing by my side. I know that together, there is nothing we cannot overcome. Our love is resilient, our bond unbreakable, and our future filled with possibility. Let's now turn our attention to another significant area of transformation, one that has been illuminated by your recent financial tarot reading and the profound evolution taking place in your mindset regarding success and abundance. There was a time, not so long ago, when your relationship with success and achievement was colored by a desire for validation. Perhaps you measured your progress by how others perceived you, feeling the need to prove your worth to family, friends, or society at large. There was an undercurrent of competition, a sense that you were constantly running a race, trying to keep up, surpass expectations, or win approval. These feelings may have stemmed from early experiences or societal messages about what it means to make it in the world. Perhaps you felt pressure to follow a certain path, to hit particular milestones, or to project an image of success that did not necessarily reflect your true aspirations. As a result, your accomplishments sometimes felt hollow, like boxes to be checked, rather than sources of genuine fulfillment. However, recent shifts in your consciousness, as well as insights revealed through your tarot reading, have brought a welcome transformation. You are now operating from a fundamentally different place, a place of internal motivation, self-awareness, and authentic ambition. No longer are you driven by the need to impress or appease others. Instead, you are charting your own course, guided by your unique vision and purpose. This new orientation is incredibly empowering. It frees you from the relentless comparison game, from the constant striving to measure up, and from the exhausting chase for external approval. You are discovering that success is not a destination defined by others, but a deeply personal journey, a journey towards self-actualization, contentment, and meaning. Your goals have become an expression of your true self. They are rooted in your passions, values, and the desire to make a meaningful impact. The pressure to conform, to compete, or to seek validation has given way to a more expansive and liberating energy. You are now motivated by the prospect of creating a life that feels rich, purposeful, and uniquely yours. As a result, the financial opportunities opening up before you are aligned with your highest good. You are attracting abundance not through force or manipulation, but through alignment by honoring your own needs, trusting your instincts, and following your intuition. You are learning that prosperity flows naturally when you are true to yourself and when your actions reflect your deepest intentions. This profound shift is transforming not just your material circumstances, but your entire approach to life. You are moving beyond scarcity thinking, releasing fears about lack or inadequacy, and embracing the belief that there is more than enough to go around. You are building a foundation of self-worth that is unshakable, and this inner security is radiating outward, drawing in the resources, connections, and experiences that support your highest vision. Continue to trust in this process. Stay connected to your goals, not because they impress others, but because they ignite your spirit and fulfill your heart's desires. Remember that true wealth is about more than just numbers in a bank account. It is about living a life of purpose, joy, and freedom. You are on a path to create abundance that is sustainable, meaningful, and entirely your own. In conclusion, let this chapter, marked by courageous confrontation, boundary setting, and renewed self-belief, be a testament to your strength and growth. May it remind you always that you are worthy of love, peace, and prosperity. The future is wide open, and together, there is no limit to what you can achieve.